Okay, let's see if. See if I figured it out. Hold on. All right, guys. So, welcome to Morning Theory. We're getting a little late. The rain and everything else, technical difficulties and stuff, and then kind of deciding what we want to do. So, sorry. I'm going to be coming around here in just a moment, be giving out some supplies, and Katie's giving out supplies as well to you this morning. And so, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be doing a layers of the skin and structures project today that you're going to be turning in for a grade. And so, we're going to be giving out some markers or some crayons and stuff to color and diagram. And so also what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be giving out these little sheets to do them on. So here in a moment we're going to go over some things. So if you'll hold tight, I'm going to disseminate some products and some materials, and I'll explain further. Okay, give me just a minute. All right, good morning and welcome back. It seems like we've gotten everybody all situated. You should now already have one of those large pieces of paper that you guys will recreate our layers of the skin and structures in our diagram. You're going to be following that diagram and you're going to basically label this diagram and decorate it. In the classroom, there's some supplies that you can use to decorate it if you want to get whimsical, if you want to use something creative and stuff. That's awesome. But we're going to go over the structures and stuff. I'm going to give you the word bank that you're going to use to label your diagram, and I'm going to give you the definitions of these terms, and you're going to figure out how to diagram them properly and recreate it. As you already saw this morning when you were first logging into the YouTube link, here is that picture right there. So, oops. All right. Unless you screenshot it, maybe you didn't get it. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to first go over and we're going to give you the terms and we're going to go over the definitions of such, okay? So make sure if I've given you this blank one, that you go ahead and write these down, maybe on the back of it, perhaps, the structures, and we're going to go ahead and go over the definitions. All right, when we talk about the layers of the skin, of course, there are two main divisions, right? We've got the epidermis and the dermis, right? You guys should remember those. And then contained within are the structures that we're going to be discussing. When we talk about the structures, the first term that you need to be familiar with is erector pili. Erector pili. Erector is A-R-R-E-C-T-O-R. Pili, P-I-L-I. Erector pili. Now, that term, that word bank that you're going to have to label on your diagram, is a muscle. The definition for erector pili is a muscle that contracts or reacts, to cold, pain, or stimuli, okay? Cold, heat, fear, pain.
Hey, Jeremy, the sun's not working in the classroom right now, so no one can. Is there any more copies of the diagram?
I know you want the other time.
Get me some copies and I will get something that has not been mine.
You guys can't hear me?
May I stand? Is it this one? Yes. Okay. You already have it. Let me know if y'all run out. Yes, you do. Is Audrey called to 9:03? Yes, she is. 8:42. Good morning. There's an assignment for you in the classroom. Follow up.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Classroom, can you hear me? Joanna, come tell me. Can Joanna hear me? They can? What? All right, let's back at it, you guys. Sorry, I got a little spoiled with Zoom since I can't do Zoom this morning. It was a little frustrating. Normally, Zoom, I could share my screen with you and I could scroll and I could give you these terms and you can see them directly typed up. But we're going to go and wing it, okay? So if you're following along, you guys, the first structure I wanted to go ahead and denote is erector pili muscle, erector, and I spelled that out with A-R-R-E-C-T-O-R, erector.
Again.
And the odds are against me today. What's the deal with this? The odds are not with me today.
You got it. I'll be the runner, don't worry about it. On the cell phones, it's working.
Okay, I'm sorry. Are you okay? Okay, well they can in there, so. All right. Okay. All right, so here we go, you guys. Erector pili muscle. Now, obviously, that's spelled A-R-R-E-C-T-O-R. Thanks to Maya. Glad to know you're here. Erector pili muscle. That is a muscle that reacts to cold, heat, fear, and pain. It is a muscle that is attached to every hair follicle. So if you know where the hair follicle is at, this is going to be a muscle that's attached to it. So think about your diagram. Where would this be located on your diagram? Your erector pili muscle. You're going to have to label that as a structure. The muscle that reacts to cold, heat, fear, and sometimes pain. It is attached to every follicle, hair follicle. Okay, so if that muscle contracts to cold, heat, and fear, this is what creates goosebumps, or how they say your hair stands on end whenever you're maybe in, a draft comes by and it causes your hairs to stand on end on your arm, perhaps. It's because the muscle contracts and tightens that follicle, causing the hair to stand up on end. So that's one of your structures. The next structure would be tactile corpuscle. Tactile corpuscle. Now, tactile is spelled with a T, T-A-C, T-I-L-E. Corpuscle, C-O-R-P-U-S-C-L-E. Tactile corpuscle. So when you think of the word tactile, tactile typically means touch. Tactile learners are hands-on types of learners, and we have a lot of you here at school that you learn hands-on. The school setting is not always the best, right? But learning hands-on is best. But tactile is sensory, your touch. So if it's sensory, this is going to be a nerve ending. So a tactile corpuscle is a nerve ending. These nerve endings also will sense temperature ranges and pain, cold, heat, all of those as well. These are nerve endings located in the layers of the skin. So you're going to have to remember exactly where it's located for your diagram. These are your nerve endings. Then we have the sudoriferous gland. Sudoriferous. Now, sudoriferous is S-U-D, sudoriferous, sudor, O-R, I-F, sweat gland. Sweat gland. Now, usually, we sometimes differentiate between the gland itself and its coiled base. We sometimes used to refer to its coiled base as the fundus. But the sudoriferous gland is a gland that helps regulate body temperature. A gland that regulates body temperature the release and evaporation of sweat. That is the sudoriferous gland. Through the release and evaporation of sweat. So it goes from the interior to the surface. Now, is the root. The root on your diagram. It's another structure that we refer to. The root. Another structure that we refer to. The root. It is the bottom portion of the hair or portion of hair located below the skin surface. The root, its definition is located. Remember, the hair is composed of protein known as keratin. Those cells are originating within the follicle. They're coming together to form the hair fiber, keratin fibers. They come together to form the beginning hair shaft that moves its way through the skin, through the follicle. So again, that was the root, portion of hair located below the skin surface. Another one would be stratum germinativum. Stratum germinativum. Now, stratum, of course, is spelled S-T-R-A-T-U-M. Germinativum, or germinativum, is germ, G-E-R-M. Germin, I-N, germin, G-E-R-M-I-N, ative, A-T-I-V-E, germinative. We also have a name as stratum basale, B-A-S-A-L-E. Okay. This is the layer of the skin where the skin cells are actively growing to become part of the more superficial layers. So it's the living layer where the reproduction is occurring. Stratum germinativum or stratum basale. Another word, term, or structure you're going to have to label is stratum lucidum. So you'll have to diagram this. The follicle is the opening of the skin that encases the hair root. Okay. Another that we're going to label is another layer of the epidermis. This would be the stratum granulosum. Stratum granulosum. Stratum is still spelled the same as the others, S-T-R-A-T-U-M. Granulosum, gran, G-R-A-N-U, losum, L-O-S-U-M, granulosum, stratum granulosum. This is one of the 5 layers of the epidermis that you must determine where it's at. This is called the granular layer. because the cells replace the superficial layer. Granular layer, where the cells are flattened. Are we frozen? Okay. Stratum granulosum. Now, another term is the dermal papilla. Dermal papilla or just papilla, and that's dermal, D-E-R-M-A-L. Papilla is P-A-P-I-double-L-A. This is blood and nerve supply necessary for hair growth. Blood and nerve supply necessary for hair growth. Located at the base of the follicle. Blood and nerve supply necessary for hair growth located at the base of the follicle. Don't want to give it away, but it kind of connects to. The next item you have to of your word bank and your that you must label is the dermis. The dermis, known as the true skin. It is the second main division of the skin. It is the dermis, where most of the structures of the skin are located. It has 2 layers of its own. So we have the epidermis, which has 5 layers, and then the dermis, which has 2 to 3 layers, if you can consider fat. Because on your diagram, you will notice the fat is located at the base. Fatty tissue, subcutaneous adipose tissue, which is that fatty layer that provides insulation and protection. All right, so let's go back. Dermis, you'll have to diagram it. It is the true skin. It is the second division of the skin as a whole. It has 2 layers of its own. That's that definition for dermis. Then I provided the definition for the fatty layer. It's actually called subcutaneous. Subcutaneous is spelled S-U-B-C-U-T, subcut, subcutaneous, S-U-B-C-U-T-A-N-E-O-U-S, subcutaneous. Subcutaneous or adipose. Adipose is A-D-I-P-O-S-E, adipose tissue. This is the fatty layer. There is a definition for fatty layer. There's just a reason why it's there, you guys, believe it or not. It is the insulating layer of the skin that provides contour and shape to the body. And protects because it's cushioned. Subcutaneous adipose tissue or fatty layer provides insulation to the body, protects against cold, obviously, provides cushion, helps protect internal organs and such and bones because it thickens the skin. And gives contour to the body, shape. So that's the fatty layer that you'll have to label on your diagram. The next one is the sebaceous gland. Sebaceous. Sebaceous is spelled S-E-B, like sebum. S-E-B, sebaceous is S-E-B-A-C-E-O-U-S. Sebaceous gland or oil gland. Now, the important thing to remember about this oil gland, it is attached to every hair follicle. Every hair follicle will have this gland attached. So it is an oil gland that is attached to every follicle that produces sebum to help condition the hair and keep the skin soft and smooth. It's a fatty oil the body's producing to condition the hair as it comes out of the head, but also make its way to the surface of the skin to keep it soft and smooth. That is the sebaceous gland. So it's connected to every follicle, produces sebum that conditions hair and keeps skin soft and supple and smooth. Then we must diagram the bulb. Bulb. The bulb, or the definition of it, is the club-shaped portion of the hair root. Club-shaped portion at the of the root. This, of course, is going to be at the base of the follicle. Because remember, we're talking about that dermal papilla, not to give it away, but the dermal papilla kind of interconnects a little bit if you look at the diagram, where it provides blood and nerve supply necessary for hair growth. So that is the bulb, club-shaped portion of the hair root at the base of the follicle. Now, of course, we have shaft. There's another definition. Shaft, portion of hair located above the skin surface. It's what is visible with the eyes. The shaft is the club-shaped portion. I'm sorry, I just repeated myself. The shaft is the visible portion of the hair, the portion of hair located above the skin surface. Flip that one up, huh? Like a parent going through the children's names one by one, calling them before they get the right one. The shaft is the portion of hair located above the skin surface. It's what you see. All right, let's go for another stratum. We have stratum corneum. This is the fourth of the 5 that I've given you so far of the epidermis. Stratum corneum. This is the outermost layer of the epidermis. Outermost layer of the epidermis, composed of a harder protein. Okay. The cells have all hardened and they're dead at this point when they're being shed away. So the cells are completely keratinized. They're done for. So we're trying to exfoliate and get those off our skin, right? So the cells will replace them. Stratum corneum, outermost layer of the epidermis, where cells overlap one another like shingles on a roof, essentially. The cells are completely keratinized and they're dead. And then the last is the stratum spinosum. Stratum spinosum. Stratum spinosum is the spiny or prickly layer of the skin, known as the spiny or prickly layer